Céad Míle Fáilte. Welcome to Treasured Tales of Ireland, a place where you can come and listen to the many myths, legends, folk, and fairy tales of the Emerald Isle as a way to keep the tales of old alive. My name is Mylinda Butterworth, and I will be your teller of tales. I hope you will join me each week for new tales, and if you enjoy my work, then comment and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to check out all my other playlists for more tales. Before we start, you should note that if you are using the closed caption feature of this video, that many Irish names don't sound the way they look, and we've made every effort to say them properly. Now, let's get started. Today, we continue with the story of the Coming of Lugh, Part 3, The Great Battle of Magh Tuireadh, Episode 5. It was not long after Lugh had got the fine from the sons of Tuireann that the Fomor came and landed at Scetne. A whole host of the Fomor were come this time, and their king Balor of the strong blows, or of the evil eye, along with them, and Bres, and Inyak, son of Dagda, a king of the Fomor, and Elathan, son of Lobos, and Gol, and Ingol, and Tuireann, son of Inyak, and Elathan, son of Tuath. Then Lugh sent the Dagda to spy out the Fomor, and to delay them till such time as the men of Ireland would come to battle. So the Dagda went to their camp, and he asked them for a delay, and they said he might have that. And then, to make sport of him, the Fomor made broth for him, for he had a great love for broth. So they filled the king's cauldron with 4 times 20 gallons of new milk, and the same of meal with that, and boiled it all together. And then they added pigs and goats and sheep along with that, and they boiled it all together. And then they poured it all out into a great hole in the ground. And they called him then, and told him he should eat his fill the way the Fomor would not be reproached for want of hospitality, the way Bres was. "We will make an end of you if you leave any part of it after you," said Inyak, son of Dagda. So the Dagda took the ladle, and it big enough for a man and a woman to lie in the bowl of it, and he took out bits with it, the half of a salted pig, a quarter of lard a bit would be. "If broth taste as well as the bits taste, this is good food," he said. And he went on putting the full of the ladle into his mouth, till the hole was empty. And when all was gone, he put down his hand and scraped up all that was left among the earth and the gravel. Sleep came on him then after eating the broth, and the Fomor were laughing at him, for his belly was the size of the cauldron of a great house. But he rose up after a while, and heavy as he was, he made his way home. And indeed, his dress was no way sightly, a cape to the hollow of the elbows, and a brown coat, long in the breast and short behind, and on his feet brogues of horsehide, with the hair outside, and in his hand a wheeled fork it would take 8 men to carry, so that the track he left after him was deep enough for the boundary ditch of a province. And on his way he saw the battle crow, the Morrigu, washing herself in the river Unas of Cognac, and one of her 2 feet at Ulu Athno to the south of the water, and the other in Las Quin to the north of the water, and her hair hanging in 9 loosened locks. And she said to the Dagda, that she would bring the heart's blood of Inyak, son of Deidamnon, that had threatened him, to the men of Ireland. And while he was away, Lugh had called together the druids and smiths and physicians and lawmakers and chariot drivers of Ireland to make plans for the battle. And he asked the great magician Mahuan what could he do to help them. "It is what I can do," said Mahuan. "Through my power I can throw down all the mountains of Ireland on the Fomor until their tops will be rolling on the ground. And the 12 chief mountains of Ireland will bring you their help," he said, "and will fight for you. Slievelig, and Dondo Olad, and Bonya Brahir, and Bri Rory, and Slieve Blama, and Slieve Schmuckto, and Slieve Mish, and Blain Slieve, and Keenthon, and Slieve Macha Bagadon, and Shagosh, and Cruhan Egla." Then he asked the cupbearers what help they could give. "We are a bit strong thirst on the Fomor," they said, "and then we will bring the 12 chief locks of Ireland before them, and however great their thirst may be, they will find no water in them. Dirk-Loch, Loch Lamra, Loch Unshin, Loch Ree, Loch Mishke, Loch Cuan, Loch Leg, Loch Isha, Loch Fibal, Loch Desker, Loch Riach, and we will go," they said, "to the 12 chief rivers of Ireland, the Buas, and Bowen, and Bonna, and Nem, and Lee, the Shannon, and Muid, and Shigek, and Soed, and Fian, the Rutok, and Shore, and they will all be hidden away from the Fomor, the way they will not find a drop in them. But as for the men of Ireland," they said, "there will be drink for them if they were to be in the battle to the end of 7 years." And Figel, son of Mamos, the Druid, was asked then what he would do, and he said, "It is what I will do. I will cause 3 showers of fire to pour on the faces of the army of Fomor, and I will take them 2/3 of their bravery and their strength, and I will put sickness on their bodies and on the bodies of their horses. But as to the men of Ireland," he said, "every breath they breathe will be an increase of strength and of bravery to them, and if they are 7 years in the battle, they will never be any way tired." Then Lugh asked his 2 witches, Bacol and Diana, "What power can you bring to the battle?" "It is easy to say that," they said. "We will put enchantment on the trees and the stones and the sods of the earth, till they become an armed host against the Fomor, and put terror on them and put them to the root." Then Lugh asked Carpra, the poet's son of Eton, what would he do. "It is not hard to say that," said Carpra. "I will make a satire on them at sunrise, and the wind from the north, and I on the hilltop, and my back to the thorn tree, and a stone and a thorn in my hand. And with that satire," he said, "I will put shame on them and enchantment, the way they will not be able to stand against fighting men." Then he asked Wivnu the smith, what would he be able to do? "I will do this," he said, "if the men of Ireland step in the battle to the end of 7 years. For every sword that is broken, and for every spear that is lost from its shaft, I will put a new one in its place, and no spear point that will be made by my hand," he said, "will ever miss its mark, and no man it touches will ever taste life again. And that is the more than Doliv, the smith of the Fomor can do, he said. And you, Credna, Lugh said, then to his worker in Bres, what help can you give to our men in the battle? It is hard to tell that, said Credna. The rivets for their spears and hilts for their swords and bosses and rims for their shields, I will supply them all. And you, Lattar, he said to his carpenter, what will you do? I will give them all they want in shields of spear shafts, said Lattar. And then he asked Dianket, the physician, what would he do? And it is what he said. Every man that will be wounded there, unless his head is struck off, or his brains or his marrow cut through, I will make him whole and sound again for the battle of the morrow. Then the Dagda said, Those great things you are boasting you will do. I will do them all with only myself. It is you are the good God, they said, and they all gave a great shout of laughter. Then Lugh spoke to the whole army and put strength in them, so that each one had the spirit in him of a king or a great lord. Then, when the delay was at an end, the Fomor and the men of Ireland came on towards one another till they came to the plain of Magh Tuireadh, that now was not the same Magh Tuireadh where the first battle was fought, but it was to the north near Esdara. And then 2 armies threatened one another. The men of Ireland are daring enough to offer battle to us, said Bres to Inyak, son of Damnan. I give my word, said Inyak. It is a small pieces their bones will be, if they do not give in to us and pay their tribute. Now, the men of Yah had determined not to let Lugh go into battle, because of the loss of his death would be to them, and they put 9 of their men keeping a watch on him. And on the first day, none of the kings or princes went into the battle, but only the common fighting men, and they fierce and proud enough. And the battle went on like that from day to day, with no great advantage to one or the other side. But there was wonder on the Fomor on account of one thing. Such of their own weapons as were broken or blunted in the fight lay there as they were, and such of their own men as were killed showed no sign of life on the morrow. But it was not so with the Tuath. For if their men were killed or their weapons were broken today, they were as good as before on the morrow. And this is the way that it happened. The well of Scetne lay to the west of Magh Tuireadh, to the east of Loch Arvach, and Dianket and his son Atrul and his daughter Arvich used to be singing spells over the well, and to putting herbs into it, and the men that were wounded to death in the battle would be brought to the well and put into it as dead men, and they would come out of it whole and sound, and through the power of the spells, and not only they were healed, but there was such fire put into them that they would be quicker in the fight than they were before. And as to the arms, it is the way they were made new every day. Gwivna the smith used to be in the forge making swords and spears, and he would make a spearhead by 3 turns. And then Lattar, the carpenter, would take the shaft by 3 cuts. The 3rd cut was a finish, and would set it in the ring of the spear. And when the spearheads were stuck in the side of the forge, he would throw the shaft and the rings the way they would go into the spearhead and want to be setting. And then Credna, The brazier would make the rivets by 3 turns, and would cast the rings of the spears to them, and with that they were ready and were set together. And all this went against the Fomor, and they sent one of their young men to spy about the camp, and to see what he could find out how these things were done. It was Ruadon, son of Bres, and of Brigid, daughter of the Dagda, they sent, for he was a son and grandson of Tuath. So he went, and he saw all that was done, and came back to the Fomor. And when they heard this story, it is what they thought, that Gwibnu the smith was the man that hindered them most. And they sent Ruadon back again, and bade him make an end of him. So he went back again to the forge, and he asked Gwibnu, would he give him a spearhead? And then he asked rivets of Scetne, and a shaft of the carpenter. And all was given to him as he asked. And there was a woman there, Crone, mother of Fianlu, grinding the spears. And after the spear being given to Ruadon, he turned and threw it at Gwibnu, that it wounded him. And Gwibnu pulled it out and made a cast of it at Ruadon, that it went through him, and he died. And Bres, his father, and the army of the Fomor saw him die. And then Brigid came and keened her son with shrieking and with crying. And as to Gwibnu, he went into the well and was healed. And after that, Tuireann, son of Inyek, called to the Fomor, and bade each man of them bring a stone of the stones of Drenus, and throw them into the well of Scetne. And they did that till the well was dried up, and a cairn raised over it. That is called Tuireann's cairn. And it was while Gwibnu was making spearheads for the battle of Magh Tuireadh, a charge was brought against his wife, and it was seen that it was heavy news to him, and that jealousy came on him, and it is what he did. There was a spear shaft in his hand when he heard the story. Ness, its name was. And he sang spells over the spear shaft, and anyone that was struck with that spear afterwards, it would burn up like fire. And at last, the day of the great battle came, and the Fomor came out of their camp and stood in strong ranks. And there was not a leader or a fighting man of them that was without good armor to his skin, and a helmet on his head, a broad spear in his right hand, a heavy sword on his belt, a strong shield on his shoulder. And to attack the army of the Fomor that day was to strike the head against a rock, or to go up fighting against a fire. And the men of Yah rose up and left Lugh and his 9 comrades, keeping him. And they went on to the battle, and Mader was with them, and Bolderrig, and Dienkect, and Nabiva, and Makkah, and the Moraghu called out that they would go along with them. And it was a hard battle was fought, and for a while it was going against the Tuath, and Nuada of the Silver Hand, their king, and Makkah, daughter of Gimeus, fell by Balor, king of the Fomor. And Casmali fell by Tuireann, and the Dagda got a dreadful wound from a casting spear that was thrown by Kaelin, wife of Balor. And when the battle was going on, Lugh broke away from those that were keeping him, and rushed out to the front of the men of Yah. And then there was a fierce battle fought, and Lugh was heartening the men of Ireland to fight well, the way they would not be in bonds any longer. For it was better for them, he said, to die protecting their own country, than to live under bonds and under tribute any longer. And he sang a song of courage to them, and the host gave a great shout as they went into battle. And then they met together, and each of them began to attack the other. And there was great slaughter, and laying low in graves, and many comely men fell there in the stall of death. Pride and shame were there side by side, and hardness and red anger, and there was red blood on the white skin of young fighting men, and the dashing of the spear against shield, and the sword against sword, and the shouting of the fighters, and the whistling of casting spears, and the rattling of scabbards was like harsh thunder through the battle. And many slipped in the blood that was under their feet, and they fell, striking their heads one against another, and the river carried away bodies of friends and enemies together. Then Lugh and Balor met in the battle, and Lugh called out reproaches to him, and there was anger on Balor. And he said to the men that were with him, "Lift up my eyelid till I see this chatterer that is talking to me." Then they raised Balor's eyelid, but Lugh made a cast of his red spear at him that brought the eye out through the back of his head, so that it was towards his own army it fell, and 3 times 9 of the Fomor died when they looked at it. And if Lugh had not put out that eye when he did, the whole of Ireland would have been burned in one flash. And after this, Lugh struck his head off. And as for Inyak, son of Damnon, he fell, and was crushed in the battle, and blood burst from his mouth. And he called out for Iacglas, his poet, as he lay there, but he was not able to help him. And then the Morabhu came into the battle, and she was heartening the Tuath to fight the battle well. And as she had promised the Dagda, she took the full of her 2 hands of Inyak's blood, and gave it to the armies that were waiting at the ford of Unyas, and it was called the Ford of Destruction from that day. And after that it was not a battle anymore, but a rout. And the Fomor were beaten back to the sea, and Lugh and his comrades were following them. And they came up with Bres, son of Elathan, and no guard with him. And he said, "It is better for you to spare my life than to kill me. And if you spare me now," he said, "the cows of Ireland will never go dry." "I will ask an advice about that from our wise men," said Lugh. And so he told Malutin Morvirha of the great judgments, what Bres was saying afterwards. But Mahaltin said, "Do not spare him for that, for he has no power over their offspring, though he has power so long as they are living." Then Bres said, "If you will spare me, the men of Ireland will reap a harvest of corn every quarter." But Mahatin said, "The spring is for plowing and sowing, and the beginning of summer for the strengthening of corn, and the beginning of autumn for its ripeness, and the winter for using it." "That does not save you," said Lugh then to Bres. And then, to make an excuse for sparing him, Lugh said, "Tell us what is the best way for the men of Ireland to plough and sow and to reap." "Let their plough be on a Tuesday, and their casting seed in the field on a Tuesday, and their reaping on a Tuesday," said Bres. So Lugh said that would do, and he let him go free after that. It was the battle of Ogma found Oma, and the sword of Tira, a king of the Fomor, and he took it from its sheath and cleaned it. And when the sword was taken out of the sheath, it told all the deeds that had been done by it, for there used to be that power in swords. And Lugh and the Dagda and Ogma followed through the Fomor, for they had brought away the Dagda's harp with them, that was called Une, and they came to a feasting house, and in it they found Bres and his father Elithan, and there was the harp hanging on the wall. And it was in that harp that Dagda had bound the music, so that it would not sound till he would call to it. And sometimes it was called Dur Double, the oak of two blossoms, and sometimes Cor Cathahun, the four-angled music. And when he saw it hanging on the wall, it is what he said: Come summer, come winter, from the mouth of harps and bags and pipes. Then the harp sprang from the wall and came to the Dagda, and it killed 9 men on its way. And then he played for them the 3 things harpers understand: the sleepy tune, and the laughing tune, and the crying tune. And when he played the crying tune, their tearful women cried. And then he played the laughing tune till their women and children laughed. And then he played the sleepy tune, and all the host fell asleep. And through that sleep the 3 went away through the Fomor that would have been glad to harm them. And when all was over, the Dagda brought out the heifer he had got as wages from Bres. At that time he was making his dune, and he called to her calf. And at the sound of her call, all the cattle of Ireland, the Fomor had brought away as tribute, were back in their fields again. And Kay, the druid of Nuada of the Silver Hand, was wounded in the battle, and he went southward till he came to the Carn Corslivnen, and there he sat down next to Bres, tired with his wounds, and with the fear that was on him, and the journey. And he saw a smooth plain before him, and it full of flowers, and a great desire came on him to reach to that plain, and he went on till he came to it, and there he died. And when his grave was made there, a lake burst out over it, and over the whole plain. It was given the name of Loch Kay. And there were but 4 men of the Fomor left in Ireland after the battle, and they used to be going through the country spoiling corn and milk and fruit and whatever came from the sea, till they were driven out one Samhain night by the Morrigu, and by Angus Og, that the Fomor might never be over Ireland again. And after that the battle was won, and the bodies were cleared away. The Morrigu gave out the news of the great victory to the hosts, and to the royal heights of Ireland, and its chief rivers, and its invers, and it is what they said: Peace upon the skies down to the earth unto the skies, strength to everyone. And as to the number of men that fell in the battle, it will not be known till we number the stars of the sky, or flames of snow, or the dew on the grass, or grass under the feet of cattle, or the horses of the son of Lear in a stormy sea. And Lugh was made king over the men of Yah then, and it was as Nas he had his court. And while he was king, his foster mother, Talchu, daughter of Mamor, the great plain, died. And before her death she bade her husband Tuath the Dark, he that built the fort of the hostages in Tiaur, to clear away the wood of Cuan, the way there would be a gathering of the people around her grave. So he called to the men of Ireland to cut down the wood with their wide-bladed knives and bill-hooks and hatchets, and within a month the whole wood was cut down. And Lugh buried her in the plains of Madar, and raised a mound over her, that is to be seen to this day. And he ordered fires to be kindled, and keening to be made, and games and sports to be held in the summer every year out of respect to her. And the place they were held got its name from her. That is Telchin. And as to Lugh's own mother, that was tall, beautiful Ethlyn, she came to Tiaur after the battle of Magh Tuireadh, and he gave her in marriage to Teig, son of Nuada. And the children that were born of them were Mima, mother of Finn, the head of the Fianna of Ireland, and Tuireann, that was the mother of Bran. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey. Slán go fóill. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this story, please give us a thumbs up and comment. It truly helps us.